Welcome to the Five and Dime on Where There's Wheels.
There's a play.
I'm Ian, your Make a Bucksy casual gamer,
I'm Stacey. I'm your non-gamer gamer.
and we're here with a Five and Dime for our top tile laying games, or 15 tile laying games we really enjoy playing. If this is the first video you're seeing from us on a Five and Dime, we used to rank them. And I used to do 10, and Stacy did 5, and I would rush through my 10 through 6, and Stacy would then join in, but she was sitting there. So we decided to change this. Yeah, she was sitting there all bored, and we decided to change this up. So we're not ranking them. We are just giving still giving 10 tile laying games I really enjoy. Stacy's giving 5. I am going to try and do kind of almost like 2 lists of 5 since I do some solo gaming. So with this one, I have 5 games that I really enjoy playing multiplayer, either 2-player with Stacy or even sometimes some with my board game club at school, with the kids at school. Some of them I do play solo as well, but I do prefer them multiplayer. And then I have 5 games that I play exclusively solo. But the reason I chose these ones is because they've got a really fun solo mode with an actual opponent that scores against you. So I'll talk about those a little bit. So let's get down to our countdown. What about you? What did you choose? Just 5 games you enjoy playing.
Uh, because if anybody's watched me before, there's no rhyme or reason behind what I do. I just do what I do. I just be me.
There you go. All right. So my first one is I think I did my solo games first. So my first one is a solo game that comes to us from. My brain is fried. It was a long week. From City of Games, and that is Isle of Cats. Isle of Cats is a wonderful solo game. It has a great solo mode. So in Isle of Cats, you are drafting some cards so you can use them to score some points, get some rewards, draft some cats. So there's a lot of drafting we noticed in a lot of these tile laying games. But I like Isle of Cats because I like polyominoes. I like trying to fill up the board. You're trying to place the cats. Once you place one cat, you do have to place every other cat or treasure next to one you've already placed, unless you have a special card that gives you an ability to place them anywhere. I really like this because in the sister mode, as you can see at the top of the screen, there are 5 cat cards. Those are all flipped over, so you don't know which color is which. The sister opponent scores based on what you do. So I really like that mind game of me trying to score as many points for me, but also trying to make sure the sister doesn't score. So the 4 cards in the upper left are scoring cards that the sister will have. In the easy mode, you have 3, and you know what she's scoring. So you know how she's scoring, but she also scores based on the 5 cat colors. So whichever cat color flips over first, she gets 5 points for every one of those on your boat that you've rescued. So you want to try and rescue ones that are near the end because the yellow cat on this board only scores 1 point for each of her. The green cat scores 5. So you can see the board that's on there has a lot of purple and a lot of yellow. Those are the ones that are not scoring very much for the sister. That is something I try and do as well. You play over 5 rounds. You're trying to get as many cats. You're trying to fill up as much space because if you have the more rooms you can fill, the more points you have. And you're trying to cover up the rats because if you have rats, they're negative points. So really fun. I really like this. I really like the solo mode because I like that mind game of okay, what am I gonna do to maximize my scoring while also making sure the sister is not scoring points. I like to go for cards very early in the first couple rounds, and not hopefully not get any cats, but set myself up for the last 3 rounds because on the third round I know what her top 3 scoring cats are, so I can start getting a lot of cats late, but I can also try and set that up. So I really do like Isle of Cats. All right, my next game is Azul. This is a classic. This is a modern classic. This is one that a lot of people know about. In Azul, you have these factory tiles in the middle of the table. And depending on how many people are playing, this is a 3-player game. So they have 2, 4, 6, 7 factory tiles. You put 4 tiles on each one. When you take a tile, you have to take all of the same color that are on a factory tile. So you can see that one in the left. There's 2 red and there's 2 yellow. If you take the red, you have to take both red. You place them on the board in a row. You're trying to get rows, columns, and all the colors that you possibly can. When you score if you have one, if you place one and you've got one above it and one at the side of it, it scores 4 points because you score for every one that is connected in a row and a column. If you can't place one, you have to place it down at the bottom of your board and it's negative points. When you take tiles, you have to place them in the same row on the left, and you can only move them to the right once you've completely filled it. So you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is just a really fun one. I think a lot of people know about Azul. We do own all of them, although we're probably getting rid of one of them, and we'll see, maybe two of them. There's one that I've been playing a lot on BGA, which I do believe I like better than base Azul, but I haven't played it on tabletop for a while, and that's Azul Summer Pavilion. But I think that one's just a little more forgiving. So that is my second suggestion for everybody, and that is Azul. And that one is multiplayer only. There are some fan made solo modes, but I don't play it multiplayer. It is one of my favorite tile laying games.
Azul
Right.
is?
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I like Azul. It's a good one.
Okay. I didn't realize it was that high on your list.
Yeah.
Of your likes, I should say.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's my turn.
It is.
Woohoo. So my first recommendation for my one of my favorite tile laying games is Quirkle. Quirkle has a total of 108 different blocks that you can see there in the photo. There's no board for it. That's actually just a tablecloth laying down. This photo is courtesy of Ian's mom and dad while they were out camping.
They introduced us to this game.
They introduced this to us, but there is no board. You just play on any flat surface. You do need a lot of space to play this game because you don't know where it's gonna go. But basically, you start with one tile in the middle, and then you want to connect your colors or your patterns to get as many points as you can. You score 1 point for each block that's played, plus all the blocks adjacent to it. So you could get points going across or diagonal, horizontal and vertical to get those points built up. The game ends when the last one is drawn out of the bag, and then all of the remaining blocks are played. Whoever lays all of their tiles down first gets an additional 6 points. And every time you put all six of one color or all six of one shape down, that's a quirkle, and you get an additional. Oh boy, I forgot. Is it?
It's 12 total.
Points?
It's 12 points. So you get 6 plus 6.
Quirkle. I really like this game. It can go fast, it can go slow, and it starts out playing really quick, I would say. And then as you get more across the board, it tends to slow down. Exactly. I really like this game, and I think that everyone else should play it too.
One correction: you don't start with one tile in the middle. It's whoever has the most of a single color, or so you start with. You say like, oh, I have 3, or I have 4, or I have 2.
Yes,
so and that could be colors or shapes. So other than that, yeah, nice. Yeah, that was one that my parents introduced to us. My brother introduced to them. None of them are really gamers, but we all enjoy this game, so it's really fun.
And I did buy this for a gift for one of my coworkers for Christmas this year, and their whole family loves it as well. There's a fourth grader, a freshman, and then the mom and dad. And the fourth grader gets mad at dad because he always blocks her quirkle, so he is a quirkle jerkle at their house. So we do not have quirkle jerkles in our house.
Not usually, not unless we
usually
have to.
Yes.
I did buy this for my board game club. It has not gotten out of the box yet. I do need to get it out of the box and play. I know it's kids want to play certain things, but I do need to introduce them to them. And I did buy the color friendly version, which has instead of being solid shapes, it has shapes in the middle of the colors, so you can see what shape
nice.
instead of the color. So it does, which is really kind of cool.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, my next game comes to us from Kids Table Board Gaming, so one of our favorite companies, and this is one that I don't hear talked about much, and this is Power Plants. In Power Plants, it's a tile laying and area control area majority game, where you are playing these different plant tiles in spaces, and when you play them, you can play them in one of two ways. You can either play them to use their sprout power or their grow power. With their sprout power, you add some sprites, which are those little cubes on there in different patterns. It tells you where to place them. That red circle on that red tile near the top is the wizard, and so you can use sprites and then do some different things, or you can grow, and when you grow, you get some different powers. So you have a couple different powers that you use. In the solo mode, you're playing against the mole, and the mole, he doesn't keep a hand of patches. He just grabs a patch out of the bag and places it wherever he can. That will score the most points. He will try and he'll put it next to similar colors, and then there's a rule for, depending on the numbers that are showing on the tiles, where he's going to put it. At the end of the game, he scores, and he has powers on each one of the types of plants as well, and he scores a certain way. I just really like this because it's very easy to run. I like it that he scores. So I do like an opponent or an AI opponent that does score. So he scores. He kind of breaks the rules a little bit because he doesn't run out of sprites. He can use as many as he wants, but he's the mole, so he's kind of coming around trying to destroy your plant stuff. So this one is Power Plants by Kids Table Board Gaming. And my next one is one that we will actually be live streaming on Wednesday night, and that is Junk Drawer. Junk Drawer is one that we got last year and became an instant hit for us. So in Junk Drawer, you are trying to organize your junk drawer. So you can see each player has a drawer that is separated into 4 quadrants. Each quadrant, you can see in the top middle of the screen, has a different scoring criteria. It could be filled spaces, it could be empty spaces, it could be empty spaces in the middle, whatever it is. You'll see 4 cards in the middle with one of them flipped over, like some bag clips. Each round, you are placing 4 pieces of your junk that are polyomino shaped. And the problem is you only get to place one in each quadrant each round. So you are trying to place them where you think it's best to place them to score each one of your quadrants. You only get to see one at a time. So you place one, then you flip the next card. You place that one, then you flip the next card. You place that one, then you place the 4th card, and you have no choice but to place it in the empty quadrant. The next round, you deal out 4 more cards. You do the same thing. So every round, you can only place one in each quadrant. And the game ends when, I believe it's when you cannot place any more of the junk. So when you flip it over and you can't place it all, then the game ends. I can't remember. We haven't played it for a while. I can't remember if the next person can still play around or if it's done. But yeah, then you just score up each one based on the scoring criteria. There is a solo mode for this. It's just kind of beat your own score, but I definitely prefer this one 2 player, and that is Junk Drawer.
I like that game.
It's a lot of fun. So yes, we will be live streaming that one on Wednesday night, a little bit later than our normal time because we've got some stuff going on at school that I have to be there until 5:30. So, all right.
So my turn. I like this.
I do too. Because we get to talk about the games a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay, so my next choice is Calico. With Calico, you are competing to sew a quilt. Now, while you're sewing this quilt, you are trying to also collect cats onto your quilt. You're trying to complete patterns that are pleasing to the cat's eyes so that they come and cuddle on your quilt instead of your opponent's quilt. You're trying to create color groups, pattern combinations, and then you score by collecting buttons and how many cats you attracted to your cat or to your quilt. As you can see up at the top are the patterns that you are trying to get. You're drawing them, putting them into your board, and then replacing them as they empty. So as you look across the top, those cats each have a name. You're trying to attract those particular cats onto your board. and then you add up all the scores of, like, say, all the purple ones or the different pattern ones, how you have them in a row, or if you have them going across your board. Each game is different because of the different cards. I don't know what you're going to call them.
The little scoring things, a couple
Yeah,
things. The scoring things on the board, so you can see some white kind of tiles on there. So those score for what's around each one of those,
yeah,
based on pattern and color. So you may need three of one and three of another, and you could score it either for the color or the pattern, or if you can get both, you score more points. And then the cats up above each have their own orientation of the patterns that they need. So you may need three in a row. You may need three that are in like a triangle shape. And if you get that with a single pattern, then the cat comes on. And if you get three of the same color, you get some buttons on there
yep.
as well, which score.
Yep. So whoever gets the most cats with the right patterns usually wins the game. But that's not always the case
Yeah, if you
because
can get.
each one's like, if you score, like, there's a AA, a BB, a CC, if that you put on there, and if you, depending on what those score, on what you get with your cats and your buttons. So it can go either way on who's gonna win.
Yeah. So yeah, that was one of our early hexagonal tiling games that we played. All right.
It's
That,
a good game.
yeah,
I like it.
that one comes to us from AEG and Flat Out. I
Hmm.
think 25th Century is Junk Drawer.
And each cat has a story.
Yeah, each cat has a story. They're actual
So
cats. They're not
they're
just
actual.
random.
Yep. Yep. And I can't remember how many cats there are that you're trying to attract that you can choose from.
12,
I,
because there's a couple that are like 3 point cats and a couple that are 5 point cats and a couple
hmm
that are 7 point cats. You do a certain number of each type or each point value of cat in each thing. So you do one of each as you're playing. So
Yep. That's
it's a
calico.
very tight one. You can see that board. It fills up very
Yeah.
quickly. You are constricted to that board. So if you do not like something that you are restricted to where you can build, Calico is not for you. If you
Hmm.
like that sort of puzzle where you're like, okay, this is what I got, I can't go outside it, then Calico is definitely for you. All right. My next one comes to me from one of my favorite companies, and that is Stonemeyer Games. And this came out last year, and that is Stamp Swap. Stamp Swap is a I cut you choose game where you are getting certain stamps and then you're separating them out so your opponent can choose them. I play this solo, and I think Automa Factory did an amazing job of simulating the I cut you choose. So in the game, you are trying to place the tiles onto your board into your stamp book, and at the end, and you're at a stamp show, and at the end of every day, so you play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you score one of the four scoring cards you can kind of see in that board in the top there, for color or theme or shape or one other thing. I don't remember what the other thing is off the top of my head. But in the solo mode, Automa Factory did a really good job of the solo AI, the Automa. Um, it it evaluates basically the tiles based on whatever board they have, based on the shape and different things. And it oh, I can't remember what it's called. Basically, it puts down a coin based on some different things that is out there, and so it evaluates those, and that's how it chooses what it's taking from you. But it also allows you to kind of figure out, okay, because they do a phase where they do an eye cut and you choose, and then you do an eye cut, and the Automa chooses, and it evaluates them. And I think the evaluation process is done really well, and it simulates that eye cut you choose. But as you're placing the tiles on the game, it you are trying to put things in different orders, and you're trying to put things together that are the same shape or the same color or the same theme, and you're trying to get certain ones, and I really like that part of it. And then there's some rare stamps which are gold foil, which is really nice. But I wanted to highlight this one because I do think that for an I cut you choose game, um, the Automa Factory did an amazing job in simulating how the Automa chooses that, and then you can kind of maybe manipulate a little bit um, in order to figure out which ones you want to take. So this one might fall a little bit more into an I cut you choose, but we don't have enough of those to do one. So this one I definitely wanted to highlight for the solo play of it with the tile laying and the I cut you choose really. So that is stamp swap. And my next one is one that I started out playing exclusively solo. And then I taught it to Stacey last year, and it became a huge hit for her. And we got the expansion for it, and that is Beacon Patrol as well as Beacon Patrol Ships and Shores. This is one that I do prefer two player. Um, I really love the two-player mode in this. So in Beacon Patrol, you can see there's some tiles in the middle. You all start in that middle tile, and when you place a tile, you have to place water to water or land to land. When you place a tile, you have to move your boat onto it. So boats only move on water. So when you place it and you place on water, you have to move your boat. And it's really fun in solo, but in multiplayer, you can be working in two different places. And then and I just really like that you can be kind of working in some different places and you can trade tiles back and forth and you can discuss like what you want to do. And then you do some scoring based on your buoys, your lighthouses, your land masses. Like if it's completely surrounded, you do your scoring. And then the ships and shore expansion I don't I don't like saying that expansions are a must-have or essential to a game, but I think with the ships and shore expansion, it just adds that extra level of enjoyment to the game for me because you get asymmetric boat powers and you get to play with some different tiles. Like some of the tiles from the base game, they allow you to they give them ability. So depending on which boats you take, you put in six different tiles. And those boats do some different things. And some of them are really unique. Like some of them, there's a submarine and you go explore a wreck. Or there's a hovercraft and you can go overland onto lakes so you can actually make a lake and you can actually go onto it and you can do stuff. You can only place, like I said, you can only place things if you can move on to it. So you can't just like build a whole bunch of stuff around. So I really like this one. I do like playing this one multiplayer more because you have two different areas. But I will play it solo. But this is one I definitely prefer multiplayer. So
You can expand quicker with two players,
yes, yeah,
obviously.
you can
So,
expand quicker and you can go in multiple places.
yeah.
So, and I like the fact that you can be like, oh, you know what, that tile would really work well for me next round. Is there one that and then you kind of look like, okay, what's going to work for her next round? Or, you know what, this tile's not going to work for either of us. We don't want to get rid of the tile, but we'll just pass it back and
Yep.
forth until we can use it, hopefully. So, yeah, that's Beacon Patrol by Pandasaurus
Good
Games.
choice. I like that one.
It's a fun one.
And my next choice is Link City. I really like Link City. It is a cooperative party game. Now, I'm a party game kind of gal, as you can clearly tell. Why do you laugh when I say that? I am. But you are trying to complete the biggest city possible while working together. There's 6 rounds that you are trying to get the most connections with. Now, by connections, I mean that each person takes turns being the city manager, or I'm sorry, the city mayor.
City
I
mayor?
actually looked that up today because
Or is it mayor?
it is the mayor.
Okay, we can never remember what we call it.
So each person rotates being the mayor, and you are secretly placing uh, 3 locations behind your wall, and the other player needs to make the same choice as the mayor. Um, you need to link those tiles for the best scoring of the shrubs towards the end. Now, when I say it's behind the wall, is what you're doing is on the left side. I can't see that far. Um, but on the left side, you have to match the cone with the building that you're going to put in your city. And that's hidden by the mayor, and the other person has to guess which cone is going to go with which city. If you're correct, you go ahead and place it in the city. What?
So the face down tiles on the left are the ones the
Oh,
mayor placed.
yeah.
So
I'm
you can,
sorry.
they're hard to see. So you can see on the left side that the mayor already made their choice as to where they're going to put things.
Yep. So then if you're correct, you go ahead and place them in the city. If you are incorrect, then you still put them in the city, but they can't be like next to another building. They have to be touching the corner of the building. And then you then have to go in and try and fill those in so that you can get the points on the little green shrubs that you see there. I really like this game. It kind of drives me nuts sometimes, but it's fun to play because I like to guess what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And our thinking is sometimes very odd. But you can easily, like, they have a castle next to the city hall, or they have you can end up with
Really weird
a
things.
daycare right next door to the
Prison.
state prison.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of fun. Um,
The one thing is those traffic cones on the right side that are in the city. One player places the person who's not the mayor places those. So then the
yep.
mayor randomly draws four new locations and they have to put them in where the other person placed the cones. So the cones get placed first, then the manager grabs four locations, figures out where they're going to put them, and then the player who placed the cones tries to match up the cones with where they said. So, yeah, um, this is one of those games that we love playing,
Hmm.
but we're not great at because our minds think so differently. And yet, when you explain your thought process, you go, "That makes a lot of sense." And then the other person explains, you're like, "That makes a lot of sense." This is like a lot of party games for us, but we
Hmm.
love playing them together, especially
Hmm.
when you can play them at two players. Yeah, it is. We do that all the time. We're like, yeah, I can see where you're going with that. And then they're like, well, what was it? Yep, I can see where you were going with that. And you hope that maybe you get on the same wavelength,
Yeah.
but sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
Sometimes is what we try to do is maybe try and set up different portions of the city. So like
Yeah.
over here's where the grocery stores are, over here's where the museums and educational places are. So if you can try and work that way around it, you might do a little bit better. But then if nothing matches like that comes up, then it's a free for all.
Yeah, if I put the orange cone in the food area and you don't get anything food related, then I was like, okay, where's that
Yeah.
going to go? And both of these could go over there. So yeah. So yeah, it is kind of one of those strategies you try and think about. And yeah, so nice.
Link
That's
City.
a fun one. That was a new one to us
Mm-hmm.
last year. My next one is World Wonders by Arcane Wonders. World Wonders is a very unique tile laying game because you have tiles, but you also have these buildings, and the buildings can only go in next to certain types of areas. You can see the tiles are different colors, and the unique thing about this is these World Wonders. When you go to buy one, you have to spend all of your money. So you can see on that board on the bottom, each person has 7 points at the beginning of a round. And as you are buying things, you are bidding on things, or you're buying some different things. You're buying roads. You're buying the small little yellowish buildings, which I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head. Um, and those can allow you to build in different directions. Oh, those are the wooden towers. And then you have different objectives you're trying to do, and it's really fun because you're trying to place these things. And when you're playing as the AI, you're trying to get roads and you're trying to get enough things so that you can get a wonder. And it's almost inevitable that you are going to try and build towards a wonder, and then they're going to steal it because in the solo play, the AI has a deck of cards, and they're going to reveal a card, and then there's three different things on it, and it kind of works its way down to see what it does. It'll do the first thing, then the second thing, and that's usually taking um, roads and tiles and different things. And then if it doesn't do those, it's going to take one of the wonders, either the one on the left or the one on the right. Usually it's the one that you've been building for and you're going to get on your next turn because you just wanted one more thing and you didn't really want to spend 6 gold out of 7 to get the wonder because you wanted one more thing before you got it. Um, but this one's a lot of fun. Like I said, this is another one that has a really great AI. The I love games that have a deck of cards that tells you what the AI is doing because first of all, it's really easy to run. and usually they're taking stuff away from you. They score pretty easily, but I really like that. I really like the game itself in the fact that you are buying the things and you're trying to figure out when you can take a wonder. Because I said you have 7 gold. Some stuff costs 1, 2, 3. Those wonders, if you take it right away, if you really want it, you want to make sure you get that wonder because you've got a lot of stuff. It's going to score you a lot at the end of the game. You can take it right away, but it's going to cost you 7 gold. But if you can spend 6 gold on a lot of other stuff to set up more things in your on your mat, that same wonder is only going to cost you 1 gold. And I think that is a really interesting dynamic in the game. But like I said, and this would be the same against an actual opponent. But I love the fact that you're like, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get these roads. I need these roads, and then the automa ends up taking um the building that I was going to take on my next turn because I'm like, I don't really want to spend 4 on it. If I get these roads or if I get this tile, I can spend 2 on it next round, and it's like, oh, now it's gone. So now you got to kind of reset. But it is a really fun game. I really enjoy this. That is World Wonders. And the next one I have is one that we play only 2 player. This is another AEG flat out game. You're going to see several of these on this list, actually. They are really good with their tile laying games. And this is a real time game called Fit to Print. Um, Another one, like I said, that has some drafting in it. But in Fit to Print, you are running a newspaper. So in the middle of the table, you have all of these newspaper articles and pictures and ads. And during a round, however long you are doing it, you are grabbing those with one hand, flipping them over, see if you want them or not. If you don't want them, you put them back on the pile face up so that people know what it is. If you want them, you put it on your table, on your desk, on your work desk that's in front of you. Then at some point you say you're ready to lay out your paper. There's 3 days. There's a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday paper. It gets bigger each day. You have to lay things out in a certain way because you can't have the same color next to each other. You have to have some of the things that score, the articles that score based on what colors are next to them. Or the pictures score based on what colors are next to them. You can't have the same color next to each other. You can't have pictures next to each other. I don't think you can have ads next to each other because you want a nice laid out thing. But you also want to try and fill the most space. The tricky thing is at the end of the round, when you are done laying out yours, you say print and you are done. The other person or other people can keep going. Any tiles you have left over are both negative and positive. They score negative points for that round, but you get to keep them for the next round. So you have some extra things you're starting with next round. Then you do that for 3 rounds and you score up your newspapers and that's it. It's a lot of fun. We learned this one last year. It's very stressful. We do not play like we play 5 minute rounds because we just want to have fun and not be stressed out. And it's still a little stressful because you're trying to print before the other person because I think there was a bonus for whoever printed first. Like you got something, whoever printed first, but you also want to make sure you're laid up. And then you're like trying to play stuff and try to leave not leave spaces and all this stuff and like the timer's counting down on you and it seems like a lot of time, but even at the time we played it, it was not. I think we played 5 minute rounds. It was not a lot of time because you're trying to manage your time. Like okay, between grabbing the tiles and then you got to take the tiles off your table, off your desk to kind of like I organize them. So I probably take 30 seconds out of my time to organize them into the different types and the different colors so I know what I have. And then you got to lay them out. And thing is, I'll go back to the screen. There's a starting piece. So this is the start of a game. You can see there is a starting piece and it has to start. There's a star there in the middle of the newspaper. It has to start on that somewhere. So you can see they've all laid it out just a little bit differently. So you need to start that starting piece. So you have to build everything around that. So you might not have a lot of space above or to the side. So then you got to place stuff. Some things are vertical, some things are horizontal. We did realize that you can kind of tell on the back of the articles if it's vertical or horizontal based on kind of the scribble writing on it. So we did realize that partway through, like, oh, that's a horizontal one, that's a vertical one. So you can kind of, but you don't really have time to think about that as you're grabbing ties. You're just trying to grab. So
The hard thing for me on this is the key of one hand when you're grabbing
You want to grab with both.
your newspaper articles. Yeah, I want to start doing this type of thing, but I have to put one arm behind my back.
You almost have to sit on one hand,
Yeah, and
grab,
do it, put it
and
on your desk.
and you're not supposed to look at it above the pile. You're supposed to bring it
Yeah,
to your desk, look at it, and then decide if you're going to put it on your desk or if you're going to put it back. So
that's
it's not like
right.
you can just start flipping tiles over. You gotta, but it was a lot of fun. And
Yeah,
I mean, it was a blast to play. We
it's
really enjoyed
fun.
this one.
I
All right,
like it.
that is fit to print.
And
You're up
my
next.
next one, oh my gosh, every time I talk about this, I get hungry. My next one is Donut Shop. With I know.
Another 25th century game.
Yes,
Wow,
it is.
25th century and AEG Flat Out is
Oh,
like a third of this list.
and we don't. All right. Well, donut shop is my dream job because you're working at a donut shop. If I worked there, that would not work out for me. Um, we all know how that
She
went.
wouldn't make any money. She'd probably have
No.
to pay because she'd eat more donuts than she sold.
But you are working in a donut shop, and your job duties are twofold. One, you're trying to display the donuts in the donut case, and then you are trying to fill your boxes with donuts. And then you are trying to sell coffee. I think it's different flavors of coffee.
Yeah,
Instead of tea. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So you're earning extra money by selling tea, and the donuts have different toppings on them. They have sprinkles. You can get them frosted. You can get chocolate donuts, chocolate glaze, some Bismarck filled ones. But you need to sell the donuts and the drinks more than the other employees to earn the most cash. You're drawing tiles from the bag and placing them on your board. And then once you place them on your board in a certain order, there's a couple of tiles up above that tells you what order you need to have them in your box, how the customers are ordering them for the most part. And so how they're ordering them out of the display case is how you have to put them in your box to get your money. Now, if you sell a drink, you get extra money for that, and whoever has the most money at the end of the game wins.
yep.
It's I mean, it's not easy because there's a lot of planning involved. You still have to figure out what order you're going to put the tiles on in the display case so that you can then take them off. And basically, is what you do is to put them in your boxes. You take the size of box that you want and you lay them over the tiles so that they're covered up so that nobody else can sell those donuts because you don't have any more.
No.
So it's kind of stressful trying to figure out how your boxes are going to line up on your board to get those tiles, but it's a fun game.
It is. This is another one we will be live streaming later this month.
Yep,
In a few weeks. So, yep. Donut shop. Another one that kind of came out of nowhere. It looked kind of fun. We like our tile laying games. It's probably one of both of our favorite mechanics is tile laying, and it looks. I mean, the theme you couldn't beat it. I'm like, oh, this looks like a fun game. It looks like a light complexity game that we can just sit down and have fun with. And it was a big hit for us last year. So, yeah, that is another good one. My next one is my last solo game from here that has another really good solo opponent, and that comes to us from another one of my favorite gaming companies for my solo gaming, and that is Thunderworks Games, and that is Ten Penny Parks. Ten Penny Parks is a game about making a theme park, and in Ten Penny Parks, you are on that board up above. You can see there's a carousel. The carousel um, has 0, plus, and minus, 1 and 2 on it. Each ride or attraction is where costs a certain amount of money. You also see in the top on the left, you see 3 different tracks that you are going across for like thrill and enjoyment. I don't remember what the 3 are off the top of my head. But you're trying to make your way across those. Each one of the rides has those symbols on it and you're trying to move across. The unique thing, if you can see, is you start with just that middle piece of the board and you can expand out. But if you notice, none of the tiles are actually touching each other. It's a theme park. That makes sense. You need space in between things. So the only way you can place these tiles is at the corners. So it is very interesting. And you have trees that you can get rid of. You can earn more money by going to the bank. You can expand your board. You can add some concessions. You score based on a lot of different things. The fun thing about this and the solo is, once again, kind of like Isle Cats, based on what you do, Becky is going to do some certain things. So she is going to take the in the easy mode. She's going to take the most expensive ride out there first, and then on her second turn, she's going to take the least expensive. So if you can get her to take some very inexpensive things, or even better yet, if you can take her even for 7 rounds to take the merchandise stands, she can't she can't I want to say hype them up. She can't advertise those. So you want her to advertise things that don't cost a lot of money, because if she advertises a really good ride, it's going to get her like $2 or $3. But if she can't advertise a merchandise stand, because that's not going to bring people in. The merchandise stands aren't going to bring people in, so you can't advertise those. So I think the really unique thing with this one is trying to figure out what you're going to take, and hopefully you can get the first player marker, because if you get the first player marker, if you are ahead on one of the tracks, you're the one that gets to turn the carousel. So you can turn the carousel and you can see, okay, wait, where can I turn it? And you have to move it so that she takes something that either she's not going to get a lot for advertising at the end of the round, or I can force her to take the merchandise stand and um she can't advertise it at all, so she doesn't earn that extra money. At the same time, hopefully you can get some things that that do allow you to advertise or allow you to score some points. Really fun game. I love the fact that you can't place the polyominoes next to each other. So when to expand your park, which rides, because the rides are really crazy shapes. Some of them have holes in the middle. When to get rid of trees, maybe, or can you work around the trees so you don't have to waste one of your turns in a round to get rid of trees. And then I have the Fast Pass mini expansion, which just adds some extra little things you can do. You can expand for cheaper. You can get a little extra money. You can clear more trees. You can get an extra concession, or an extra little concession stand thing. So yeah, so it's a really fun one. I love the solo mode. This is another one that really makes you think, like, what can I do to force Becky to do what I need her to do? Okay, so that is 10 Penny Parks. And then my last one is our third game from AEG Flat Out, and that is Cascadia. Cascadia is very similar to Calico in the fact that you are laying hexagonal tiles next to each other, but this has no board. So you are placing them out. You are drafting from 4 different tiles and 4 different wildlife tokens. It's an intertwined drafting, which means whichever ones are connected to each other, you have to take both of those things. Then you're placing them on your board. You are trying to score the cards on top. There's 5 different animals. Each one of them scores a little differently, and there's a ton of different scoring cards for each one of those animals. You are trying to also build the largest sections of habitats, because you score points for your largest one. So if you can see the one on the left, they've got a large river. So that is going to score them a lot of points. And it doesn't have to be the entire tile. Each tile that is part of that connection scores that. So, and it looks like they actually built a nice river through the
Yeah, they
entire thing.
did.
Wow, that is pretty. Um, and so you're trying to do a lot of things. You're trying to get the wildlife so you can score those. You're trying to get the habitats so you can score those. Um, it's a lot of fun. I like this one. I prefer this one to Calico, because I I don't personally like the constrictedness of the board. I like Calico. I'll play Calico, and I do like the 3 tiles that, okay, can I get this stuff around and score? I prefer Cascadia because I like the openness of just being able to place my tiles wherever I want, and I don't have to stick to this restrictive area. This Like Calico, this one does have a solo mode that is scenarios. They tell you kind of what you need to hit. Yeah, I like it. I'm not as big a fan. I don't play it solo a whole lot. I got a lot of other games I play solo. I prefer this one multiplayer. We also have the landmarks expansion, which adds some asymmetric scoring. It also does make the game a little tighter, because when you take an asymmetric card, basically what it does is it allows you to score your habitats a little bit differently. Only you score that, but you do have to take like a tree when you take a forest one to place it in the forest. So it takes a tile away from where you might be able to put an animal token. I really like that. It added some really nice new tokens that have 3 habitats on them, and it also had some where there are um, 4 sides have one habitat and 2 sides have another. So really like one. I love Cascadia. It's another one of those I think classic ones. I think we got a couple on here that are classics with um, that a lot of people know about with Calico and Cascadia and Azul. Those are ones that I think a lot of people know about.
And
too.
a lot of people compare other games. Like if you like Cascadia, then you'll like this game
Yes.
because it's similar. So those games are kind of becoming kind of like the monopoly of day games.
I'm not sure that I'll get that far
Well, I don't know, but
because I don't think they'll get the hate that Monopoly does. But they are ones.
oh,
They are ones that
I hate
people
Monopoly.
people despise Monopoly.
It's a family
But they
game.
are ones that people go, this is similar to this. Like the one last year was Harmonies, which we didn't include on this because it's more tokens than tiles. We were going for more of the actual tiles, so we didn't include stuff like that or cards that they say are tiles. So, all right, that is my last one. So on to Stacy's last one.
My last one, I think, is a highly underrated game. I don't think I've ever heard anybody
No,
else talk about
nope,
this game.
nope.
So I'm gonna talk about it, and I'm going to encourage people to look into it. Zen Garden. I don't have a clue who makes
I think
it.
it's Queen Games. It looks like.
Okay, Twin Games. So in Zen Garden, you are an architect and you are working for the emperor and you are trying to design his garden so that it's the most beautiful garden that the emperor will love. You're trying to design different paths, put in different statues and flowers while paying attention to what the emperor prefers. Um, there are 5 preference boards that will determine what he wants, and you need to pay attention to those boards so that that's where you're going to get your scores off of. And then you are going to draw from the bag, and it's kind of a waterfall effect on where the tiles are. So you can take different tiles off of the board, and then once that round is over, you'll move all of the tiles down so that you are constantly getting new refreshing tiles that you can lay onto your board. I really like this game until it gets too many preference boards up to the top. That really kind
Yeah.
of messes with my senses.
So you can see the first preference board on the right side near the top.
Yeah.
There's a minority preference on the left. He wants the green floors. You get 1 point for each one of those. There's a majority preference on the right. He wants the crane decorations. He gets 2 points of those. There's a majority in um the second one from the left. He wants the dirt paths in it, and whoever has the most scores 6 points. I think whoever second most
Mhm.
scores 3. And then I don't remember what the other one is. The third one from the left. But you need to have a certain. If you have those, you have to have a certain number of them. Because if you only have one, you have like negative points. But I think you need like 4 in order to start getting positive points on it. And that's just the first board.
Yes, and then when your tiles, you can see where the tiles are that you have to choose from on the right bottom area over there. That's where you're going to choose your tiles, and each row is a different cost to take those tiles. So the bottom row, there's no price, there you get those for free. The second row, I think is 1 token, and then the third row is 2 tokens. You have your token marker up at the top, and each time you do a token that you have to pay for, you'll move over to the left, and then you can gain your points back, and then you can move them back over to the right, and whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. So it's pretty easy scoring for the most part to try and figure it out. I really like this game.
It's a good one. It's a
It's
really good one.
like I said, it's underrated, I think. I think more people need to give this game a chance. The replayability on this thing is unsurmountable.
I mean, especially when you start adding the different
The
boards and
different
stuff.
layers and the different preferences in that the Emperor wants.
So on the picture, the left side is the player board. The right side is where you're taking tiles from. Um, and then there's also scoring if you can get all four. If you notice on the player board, they've got 4 circles that are all, each circle is the same path. The more circles you have of the same path, the better. This is, I think this is probably only using the first board, the first scoring board,
Yeah.
because you'll notice it's got a mishmash of backgrounds. uh, as you get higher, sometimes you want all backgrounds to be like connected, and or you need just a certain number of backgrounds or whatever it is. So, and then if the more of a single type of decoration you can get, you
In a
score more.
row
Well, in a row, then you can earn more points. You can
Yeah.
earn more gold to spend later.
Yeah.
But the more of a certain number, like they've got a lot of cranes, so that's going to score them a lot of points. You can see on the left side they've got benches on all 4 of those, so they earned extra gold to be able to spend later on. I agree. I think this one is, it's a game I've never heard anybody talk about. In fact, um, the only reason we have this game is because a couple years ago I was doing my first A to Z, well, my first alphabet challenge, not necessarily A to Z, but just my first alphabet challenge, and there were like 3 or 4 letters that we didn't have. Z was one of them. So I'm like, if you have time, we look for Z, and Stacey saw us, and we like our tile laying games. She's like, this looks fun. I'm like, that looks fun. It's a good price. Let's give it a shot. So we bought it, and it really does. It really is a great game. We played this one live as well, on the channel. So this one is available on the channel if you want to check it out. We really like this one. It's, I've never heard anybody talk about it, honestly. I've never heard another content creator talk about this. I've never seen it listed on any list. I've never seen it on anything. Um, I highly suggest it. If you like tile laying games and you like games that you can go from just basic scoring to adding 4 different types of scoring, there's even some that are like missions or something they call them. Yeah, I think this one is a great one. Good pick for sure.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. There is our tile laying game suggestions. 5 multiplayer ones that I gave you, 5 solo ones with a really nice AI opponent that scores and does stuff. And Stacy's really fun 5 ones as well. Like really fun games. So for your non-gamer, your mid complexity gamer,
And there's so many more.
there's tons out there. So
This is just a small portion
Small.
of what we enjoy playing.
These are some of our favorites. We had to leave a couple off, but these are some of our favorites for sure.
Yes, I like them a lot.
Yes, tiling is one of our favorite. We could probably do it. Well, I don't know if we could do another full list, but we could probably add a few more to this list.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But those are my recommendations. If you like tile laying games, or if you've never played a tile laying game and you want to try something easy to get into, any of the ones that I suggested are good. I think good beginner tile laying games.
Yeah, I do too.
So give it a try.
Yeah. So there you go. Like I said, join us next week live as we play Junk Drawer. And in a couple weeks when we play Donut Shop. So there you go. Once again, this is Ben, where there's a Wills.
There's a play.
I'm Ian.
I'm Stacey.
And we'll see you next time
At the table.